I think you need to walk the talk.
You know, any time I see you talk, and I've been following your public address, whether on media or here, at times I want to give you the benefit of doubt.
I want to tell you, equalization is not working. I want to plead with the colleagues here. I want to take you through what is earmarked for equalization for Wajir. The whole thing is a sham, chairman and vice chair. I want to beseech you, I want to plead with you. This time around, let's go by the recommendation of Treasury and persuade CRA.
How will we make sure that Kenyans who feel disgruntled because of the payslip we've eaten into their payslip, how can we make sure that they get more disposable income?
We realized, I think around a year ago, about the dollar. And you have said that what is affecting our public debt also is about the dollar. So are we having a plan on how to sustain or how to bring the dollar rate a little bit lower, so that at least we can be able to encourage the exportation and the importation of goods as far as our country is concerned?
I think you need to walk the talk. You visited Hola. I really want to urge you, come and visit Elders, come and visit Lefe, and you will appreciate. In 2010, I think it was 2009, during the countdown to the promulgation of the current constitution, the last minute inclusion, when we were in Naivasha, I think you remember, were three things: devolution, equalization, and the current Senate. That's why today, if you look at the role of the Senate, it was the last minute inclusion. It was not well thought out. But now that by the grace of God we are here, I want to tell you, equalization is not working. I want to plead with the colleagues here. I want to take you through what is earmarked for equalization for Wajir. The whole thing is a sham, chairman and vice chair. I want to beseech you, I want to plead with you. This time around, let's go by the recommendation of Treasury and persuade CRA to go by that. Otherwise, by the recommendation of the CS. And I think we'll be alert and we'll support you. Otherwise, the West. It's a West. Chairman, under your leadership, I really want to believe with you. It's a West. And yet, on the face of it, within the next few years, the GDP of Ethiopia has expanded. I'm sure you know it. It's almost twice now that of Kenya. That's the projection. Uganda is catching up with us.
You know, any time I see you talk, and I've been following your public address, whether on media or here, at times I want to give you the benefit of doubt. Because we have been in this committee with you for many times, and there are things we have been pushing on the matters of principle, which we are saying, if we want to grow this economy and have this country, there are things which must be done. Either we get them right, or we forget about growing the economy. One of them, Wazir, is a single treasury account. I'm looking forward to having that work from first as you have promised us. The second one is issues of public debt. This is another area, Wazir, where we really need to have a national conversation. You have said it with your mouth, the issue of the governance, what is happening. So now that we are basically telling you the devolution through the governance structure, the CDF we have many more challenges. How I wish that we could prioritize the CDF resources so that we release them in good time, and we will be actually helping you to grow the economy. One of the ways you can grow the economy, I have said it many times, because this is my area, is to make money get to the people's pockets so that you trigger demand. And by triggering demand, you trigger production. By triggering production, you trigger employment. You trigger additional taxes. These are things that are just basic. And economics, at times, it just flows. If you don't get it right, you don't get it right. You get it wrong. If you get it right, it flows and you see things working.
How will we make sure that Kenyans who feel disgruntled because of the payslip we've eaten into their payslip, how can we make sure that they get more disposable income? I think that question was asked by Honorable Isuda, but it was not well answered. Number two is we intend to do the SGR all the way to Malaba. How do we intend to finance it? Last one, we also intend to do the Rironi Mau Summit Road. how do we intend to also finance it? Lastly, I can see the only balance we have for development is 64.552 billion. I think, as the rest of us have said, when the national government takes a cut, the county governments should also follow suit, because they are not any way different from the national government. We don't say that we don't support county governments. We support them fully. But what happens in the national government, in case there are cuts, that should also apply the same to the county governments.
For me, this is a strategy. This is a strategy. The strategy is, first, consistently work on budget deficit over the years. In the medium term, if we consistently reduce our budget deficit, then we are likely to get out of the debt trap going forward. So how you get to reduce the debt deficit? And by the way, there has been serious attempts to reduce budget deficit over the years. If you look at 2020-2021, the budget deficit was 8.1%. The following year, ending 2022 June, it came down to 6.2. Then 2023 June, 5.6. Then 2024 June, it was at 5.3. We just made a mistake of thinking that we could take it from 5.3 in 2024 to 3.5 in 2025 in 1 year, by imagining that we could raise our revenue by more than 34% in 1 year. That has never worked anyway. In fact, economists, and Honorable Makali will tell you, would advise you that if you do that, it will be total civil unrest. And that is what we saw. This is something that was not accidental. Any jurisdiction that has ever attempted that would get into serious trouble with the citizen. And that is what we faced. So it was just within what economists would project. And now you can see economists are right that you don't attempt that. Now, where are we? The budget deficit, as we are working on 4.9, so that it is below the 5.3. But the next financial year, we want it to go down to 4.3, the 2025-26. And finally, in the medium term, we want 3%. That should be the most desirable. The second thing about budgets, about managing debt, I wanted just to talk about 3 things. The second one is, how do we lower cost of debt? We should be taking cheaper debts to deal with more expensive debts. That's one way also of freeing yourself. Because you can't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to pay all of my debts. It's not practical. So whatever debt you take, it should be cheaper than what you had to retire that old one. So that in the long run, you have cheaper debt, and that is one way of managing your debt. Now, if you look at what we have done, in terms of external debt, we had a bit of a challenge, because where do we go to? The multilaterals, which have cheaper debts of below 1%, are shrinking their offer to us. Yeah? The bilaterals, which are also cheap, like Japan, they don't have so much. So we go to commercial. Commercial is now more expensive than even some of the loans we took. That's why the recent liability management offer that we had to balance it so that we remain debt neutral. We took a 9.5% debt to pay, which was lower than what was taken last year, to pay a 7% debt. So that is why we have taken a decision that half of that money is retiring that debt, but half of it should retire a more expensive debt, a 13% interest debt syndicated loan, so that we remain debt neutral. In domestic front, we are successful as at now. Why? Because I said, when I came into office, the 91-day Treasury bill was trading at 15.6%. Last week, Thursday, I don't know what the percentage will be today. It was 8%. It has been going down consistently. Now, if you save 8%, if we can maintain these interest rates, say at 8%, which is the percentage I think last seen during when Kibaki was president. If we maintain 8% for 1 year and convert all the short-term borrowings, which is 900 billion, that is the 91-day, 182, and 364. The 900 billion, if you apply a saving of 8% on 900 billion, you save 72% in 72 billion in 1 year. And that savings, that's 72. You only need to add 14 billion and you pay the entire capitation from primary school, JSS, and secondary school. That is what it can do for us. And by the way, we managed to save about 24 billion in the last 6 months, from July to December, out of that. So our domestic debt is working for us at the moment. And I want to tie that to what Honorable Makani Mulo asked, why we are going domestic with its domestic has its risks. One is that the interest rates are usually very high. At the moment, we are enjoying very low domestic interest rates, lower than Eurobond, something that has not been seen in a long period of time. But if we don't manage it well, it can go up again. So there I agree with Honorable Makali. But the other risk of domestic debt is we can crowd out the private sector. We are looking at the private sector and we are seeing we have a deepened capital market. We are not lacking resources to crowd out private sector. The problem we have is that the interest rates have been high. So the rate at which we are borrowing now cannot crowd out private sector. These are permutations that we have worked on. But then, external borrowing have a very serious risk of foreign currency fluctuation. If you look at what happened, you know, these Kenyans had not witnessed in a long period of time. That is why we thought external borrowings are always very good. But external borrowings have their risk. The risk here is, what happened last year is by January last year, or by December 2023, we had external debts of 6 trillion. And by shilling just appreciating from 160 to 130, that debt has come down from 6 to 5 trillion. What is the effect of that? First, you are saving on the, if you are paying the principal amount, you are paying less. Way less. A sixth less. But again, interest charged is also less. So if that continues over the period, you save quite a lot. Again, in that area, we are saving. So that risk also you must balance off with the risk of domestic debt and see where you are. So I think that I've explained even the dollar effect that Mheshimiwa you asked. But we can't go too low also. We can't also allow the shilling to appreciate too much. In fact, our assessment is that the shilling at 130 is the most reasonable for our economy. Because if you make shilling too strong, then you also discourage exports. And the moment you discourage exports, you will not have foreign exchange reserves. And you will be more exposed because now you don't have the ability even to pay your debts. So we have to balance it in a way that promotes exports and also manages imports. So you can see both exports and imports have been going up with 130 shillings or 129 shillings. That is a clear sign that that is a balancing rate that we should maintain. On, well, I think we have talked about sessional paper, but I agree with you. I think I need to get more to engage. But again, some of these things is just by sitting down with your colleagues and discussing, like when Honorable Kenaim, you came with your team to us. What we need to do now is to see, is there some deliberate efforts to mainstream that into the budget? What can we do? We may not do everything in 1 year, but we need to reflect inclusivity in our budget. Because it's expounded in our, including even the Article 201 on public finance, talks about inclusivity. It's a constitutional requirement. Enticing Kenyans coming, but can I just say something? I hope it will not be too controversial, you know. We have the media here, but it's okay. This is what I've been saying, if we cannot fight corruption and root it out, we better allow people who have got this illicit money to invest it here. Because, you see, they are stealing this money and escaping with it to Dubai and developing Tanzania, Dubai, and employing people there. What if that money which is building a mall in Tanzania from a Kenyan was building a mall here? How many Kenyans would be employed? So I was saying, the most desirable, fight corruption, root it out. If we fail, then allow it. And tell people, if you find a way, we will look for you somehow. But if you escape, just put it here. We will not follow you. If you escape with the ng'ombe, tutakuruhusu uchinje ng'ombe na sisi zote tukule. Badala ya escape with the ng'ombe to the bush and you allow hyenas to eat it there. But I hope that is not going to be very controversial. But it will be. So we need to, but again, but there are also Kenyans who are doing good investment out. We just need to create a conducive environment for that investment. Equalization fund, I can't agree more. Arrears is there. The only challenge we have is the fiscal space. And again, now when you put it in a way that it is not meeting its objective, then I don't see why. And always reducing arrears. But we saved this financial year. I made sure that we didn't reduce the equalization fund. There was an attempt to reduce the equalization fund again, and I said we can't do that. New formula on sharing, I agree. We must look at the formula. This thing of saying where people don't live should not get money. You know, everybody needs, hata kama sisi ni watu watatu, we drink water the same way 10 people drink. So they may drink more, give them more, but make also water available for us. So just saying that an area should not get allocation because they don't have people, give population a percentage, but it should not be too much. Give area also a percentage, commensurate with it. Give all other factors, including poverty index. Single treasury account, I think I've already mentioned this. I'll make sure. In fact, my PS is leading this to ensure that it is implemented. Public debt, high interest rate, crowding out, I think this I addressed. I have an advantage of broad-based government. I think I have an advantage of the confidence of the people of Kenya. I need to take advantage of that, yes. I agree. Reducing public participation budget. You know, Honorable Makali, it is true. Parliament has a role to play in budget process. This time, we know that the 2010 Constitution made Parliament budget-making body. And so, yes, the executive has the responsibility. They have a manifesto to implement. We have more advantage in terms of expertise to come up with what should be the most desirable budget. But for equity, there is need for people's representative to come in. And so there is need to have some allocation. And when actually we went to the US, this money we call public participation, it is my creation. We went with Honorable Mutava Musimi to the US, and we were told about this terminology that has now been abused of pork barrel. It is not a crime. In the US, it is recognized, the pork barrel. And that is where we got that terminology. And when we came back, I insisted to Honorable Mutava that we need to implement it.